Hello, my dear friends. I am so happy to always come and spend time and talk with my friends out there and in a very dark world right now. And you guys are infusing it with a lot of light. Exciting about that. Did you guys practice your out-of-body experiences yet? Do you ever try those? I know some of you have been asking about that. I know a lot of you are already out-of-body traveling. And that's exciting to be able to pull your attention back away from the things that are hurting you and that you've created around you that are grabbing you. And so you pulling back from the physical body, you can pull back from emotions, and you can pull back from thinking. You know, we talk about that quite a bit. But that's the part of letting go in Christianity. That's part about being born again. It isn't about who, it's about your actions of just letting go. And sometimes life takes you down a hell road, so you'll let go. And sometimes your experiences are what your mind would say is not positive, would be more negative, but that negative experience homed you to allow you to let go of your attention on your desires of these things that bind you. So it's understanding that that consciousness, that awareness behind your eyes, that entity listening to me that is you, that has a name on it, whether it's Rita or Robert or Jack or whatever. That's just a name someone gave your physical body. So you're a being that comes out of the one into the two. So consciousness or awareness is just a single reality where all things come out of. So when it starts to individualize itself, it pulls itself first into the id, the ego, the individualized self, a thin layer of the mind that brings you individualization. The ego is, as we define it, as someone's ego or narcissistic, that's an accentuation of that body. That's a body, that's the id out of balance. That's that body out of balance. And the other side of that, of course, is the inferiority complex as well. Each body has its own set of laws and things. So when you start coming, when it starts wanting to express itself into duality, because when you're the one, everything is just the one. To be able to understand what's in consciousness or what's within itself, it has to manifest. So it manifests out of itself, and it individualizes itself, so all things come out. Kind of like silly putty, when you pull and you manifest something out of that. You know, the problem is it's all within the body of God. It's not outside. You can't be out of sight of something that's total. So just simply remember, your attention is the thing that's important. Your viewpoint, but also your attention. Where do you place your attention? Because where you place your attention, that's where you're looking. When you start becoming more infinite, there isn't so much a focused look. You're starting to have a more consciousness or a more awareness of 360 degrees. Kind of hard to explain unless you've had these experiences, you know. But it is simply removing your attention off of those things that are locking you here. And your physical body and its 5 senses can lock you here. As you lose your senses, it takes you away from this world. Then you have the emotional world. That's the astral. It's called the astral body. That's your next world that you pull back to. And that is where all the driving forces come from. This is what drives thought. This is your desires. This is how things express. This is the divine desire of things, I suppose you could say, if there's such a thing. And so then you have 3 aspects of the mind. You have the id, and then the ego, the first manifestation. Then you have the pure mind, And this is the mind of God. It's called the universal mind. And all minds, all individual minds, that everything that comes into creation gets a mind, even a plant. And they all come out of this mental worlds. And you have a body on each of these worlds, and you can visit those bodies by pulling your attention away from your other bodies. It's just learning how to play these sort of games, sort of things, because it's how you free yourself eventually from creation, is turning away from it and withdrawing your attention from it. That's the easiest way. It's just simply like you don't want to look over here anymore, so you move your attention and you start looking over here. This part of creation dies away, and this is ignited by your attention, which is power and energy. Wherever you put your attention, you're putting the power of God there. That's how God's experiencing thing, is right through your attention, right through your emotions. And what do you think it's created it for? It can experience endlessly, and no limitation to that. Understanding that's mind-blowing on the mental side of that. You don't have true duality really noticeable so much until you really get into the causal worlds, and that's where you have the Akashic records. That's where you have the past and the future. That's where you can go and see what's going to happen in these worlds, because it's all there. These worlds are already created. So you can see all these things ahead of time. That's that deja vu experience. So there's a lot to wake up to when you pull your attention off of academics and the things that this world is tying you with. Doesn't mean you can't be smart, doesn't mean you can't use your mind, doesn't mean any of that. It means that your awareness needs to be your prime focus, and then use your mind and have it go work for you. Have it go ask whatever you want of the mind, and it'll go find the answer and bring it back to you. And once you start learning to keep pulling back, but keep your attention through your bodies, you'll start to get the answers, and you'll learn how to out-of-body travel. And pretty soon, after you out-of-body travel long enough, you'll realize that this whole experience is simply about the traveler, not the traveling, and not the experience of whatever you're experiencing. That's just creation. That's just the fun of it. So interesting stuff, when you go down that road. We could talk for hours on spirituality and developing your ability to be free from the chains that bind you to creation, and then experience creation. It's a lot more fun. But when you're locked into these things, these experiences rip you. The pain of your body rips you. Tumors and things, the fear sets in, and then you start losing what you have gained. And so turning this around will give you a sense of survival beyond the transition of the physical body. So if you're one of those that are in stage 4s, and you think you're just not going to make it on the planet, and it's possible when you're at a high level of this, we do our darndest to get you back. That's for sure. But if you've already set up situations, and a lot of souls don't realize that they've set up situations, you might have set this up and it's your time. I've had people that I could get the tumors out and do well, but they took off anyway. It wasn't because of the cancer got them. Seen that in several cases. And so, I had a lady once, she worked for a naturopath. Matter of fact, he produced electrolytes up here. And I got a call from her husband one day, and I went up and visited her at her house because she was bedridden. It was breast cancer, and of course they did radiation. Of course, radiation always burns through to the lungs, of course, and that gave her aggressive lung cancer, damaging the lungs like that. So she didn't have long, they told her, and of course I went right to work with her, and she was 74 at the time. And so to make a long story short, she ended up putting her husband, who actually called me to help her, in a nursing home. He passed, and she made a comment to me one day. She said, and she was 86 then, and I could never get that tumor completely out of her, but most of it, she never had breathing problems. She remodeled her kitchen at 80. And so at 86, her dog died, and she said, well, if my dog dies, I don't have any reason to live. I said, you don't have any reason to live? I said, look at these elderly people around here with all these cancers, and they're dying like flies, and you can show them how you can survive with aggressive lung cancer. You know, a medical doctor told her she had aggressive lung cancer, and he couldn't believe she'd lived so long. How has she been doing this? And he said, we have a new chemical on the market that could help you. But she took off. Her dog died, and a week later or whatever, she just took off. That was it. So, you know, we have other, you know, we're so much bigger than the body we're looking at. Put it that way. You know, when you look at some physical body of someone, you're looking at a powerful being that has not only that physical body, they have an emotional body and a mind behind there as well. So you're looking at, you know, when you look at physical bodies, they come packing with other things with them. And you can read and study these things. You know, there's a lot of books out there talking about these different bodies and things like that. A lot of people have never put their attention there, so they haven't been privy to that information and knowledge. But there's a lot of awareness about out-of-body traveling. I mean, the Rosicrucians, I joined them years back in the early 70s, and they're an order that teaches you how to have out-of-body travels. And they've been around for 150, 200 years. So, you know, this has been going on for a long time. And it's simply nothing you should be scared of, because it's actually becoming more of who you really are and less of what you're not. Why would you fear that? You don't want to fear that. You want to be joyous that you want to know more of who you really are and not deal with the bodies and all that they have to go through. You know, when you think about diets are so hooked to man's state of consciousness, it's not even funny. And this is why that when you see someone that's going on a raw diet, they lift their consciousness up. It helps to start changing their world. And this happens to everybody. There's some people that fight that struggle of change in consciousness. But it does. You can't help to go through our program and not spiritualize yourself. You can fight it. But it's going to happen because you're plugging into God at a higher level. And not even just eating raw foods and getting into the fruits, you're really plugging in. You know, you've read a lot of these or heard me read a lot of these about the power of the fruit. And don't mistake the power of the fruit. That's why you see so many responses when you go on fruit. They're powerful. And to think that fruit is bad for you is ridiculous. You know, just totally ridiculous. Well, that's my little spiritual jibe for the day. It's a subject matter that is my number one subject matter, but I don't talk a lot about it much anymore. I've tried to infuse it through these videos to help you wake up without really spending a lot of conscious effort doing it. You know, trying to pull you guys back to the now and away from thought. And by simplification of what we do, it'll help you do that. And as a practitioner of the art of healing and wellness, you want to keep your world simple, because you also, as a practitioner, are a spiritual being that's here and tuning into more of who you are. And so you have to take care of yourselves in that respect. So anyway, have fun in life with that, and set yourselves on a path of freedom. Because remember, everything around you, you've created. Believe it or not. And so you have to uncreate what you don't like around you. It's kind of like your health. You created this with the help of some friends. But that was all karmically induced. So you have to look at this. The body you came into, karmically bound to you. The parents, just perfect for your future journey. Remember, this is all dictated out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And this is all for you and your journey and what you need to learn to help expand your ability to be awake, but also to have self-discipline. Because an awakened being with self-discipline is a very, very high soul. Very powerful soul. And this is some reason why some people, and even myself, probably don't get access to things that they're doing, because, you know, a lack of self-discipline in some levels. You have to be careful what you think. They're powerful. That's why it's important to get out of the mind and learn how to control thoughts. Because thoughts can come around and anyway, the mind feeds that, and you're not the mind. So when you have negative thoughts and you don't take it personally, kick back and say, you know, those negative forces are trying to get me to, you know, whatever. Because you are not your mind, you don't want to identify with that. You have a mind that comes out of the universal mind, but that mind you're going to control when you become more conscious that it is the mind that you control. not it controls you through thinking processes. In other words, you got to stop thinking and driving that thought with desires. This is why all your spiritual giants talked about the desireless state. Buddha big time, Jesus as well. Enoch, all these true spiritual beings will set you free, not bind you. Any true spiritual being, and that includes a priest, a minister, a rabbi, I don't care who it is. If you're a true God man, you're going to set your parishioners, your people free. Just like the spiritual giants before you. And you set your people free and you get them a sense of awareness and consciousness. And what religions are doing, they're man-made, so they're keeping you separate. Here's me and here's God. You will always live in fear and isolation and loneliness with that type of understanding. Break that and realize you're from the Godhead. So you have to change your position and start working from God. And then down. I've got a physical body and I'm taking it to the restaurant and getting it something to eat, or I'm taking it shopping. But I'm the conscious one, the overseer of your activities, of your desires even. And then you can start having a better way of determining whether an action that you want to take will yield you what you want out of that action, or will bind you even into deeper actions and reactions. Because remember, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This is physics. Everybody knows that. We just simply call that karma because it's easier to say, and it has a whole bunch of understanding behind the word karma. Jesus simply said, you reap what you sow, bro. You reap what you sow, man. So it's just understanding that, and you young ones understand this, you will grow spiritually so much faster because you won't create so much of that payback stuff. Because what you create, you have to pay for it. You have to pay it back, and if it affects someone, you've got to pay that. Because we look at law, and if they get away with something, they got away with that. No, karmatically, nothing gets away with nothing. Every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. It's just time in the time machine of creation. It might take you a while to get that karma paid back from some things. You start stacking it up quite heavily down here, or out here, however you wish to look at this. And it starts stacking up, and you have to get this stuff out through. And this is why you hook to spiritual people that can help you unwind your karma. That's what I've been trying to do with you guys, is help you unwind your karma that's binding you to pain, suffering, and keeping you here in the physical worlds. Not just the planet. There's a lot of life in the physical worlds, guys. This is just a little bitty spot. So anyway, have fun with it and enjoy yourself and your journeys. But become conscious, and it'll set you free and give you a strength and a security that you've been longing for. Yeah. I was asked by an LD here a question here that one of her clients asked her, and she said I could read this to you. And this is Sandra, and I'm gonna read this to you. But it's pretty much pro bono what the medical doctor said to this lady who's got cancer. She was told the following from this medical doctor: excessive antioxidants like C, A, D, and E could interfere with free radical formation that the radiation causes to damage the cancer cells. Cancer cells cannot repair the damage, but healthy cells can. You know, when you think about this medical doctor is really telling you what's about to take place. So let's look at this. Excessive antioxidants like C, A, D, and E. You know what? Vitamin C is not what you guys think it is. This is ascorbic acid, and whenever a free radical this is an antioxidant. It's hard to understand an antioxidant as an acid, because base chemistry is highly involved in this situation here. So when you're looking at a C, you're looking at almost a free radical in and of itself. Look at all these people that have been taking intravenous vitamin C treatments for cancers, right? What are you doing with that? It's an acid. So introducing an acid into the vascular system changes the pH of the blood. Therefore, puts your life in jeopardy. So look at all the calcium that's been pulling out of arteries, because people that have been using this have been getting hardening of the arteries and poor circulation. You do not introduce an acid into the vascular system, and anybody does, that's a serious crime to me. Because if in chemistry, if these people don't understand what they're doing, you don't enter anything into the blood. If you don't understand the chemistry of blood, and you don't enter acids into the blood, but they don't get that. And this is serious crimes that they've been doing about that. You know, and these steroids, acetate steroids, you know, I mean, this is some bad stuff going on out here. So I wouldn't take vitamin C, period. At all. I don't recommend it. I take it off. It's part of the flavonoid complex in plants, and that's a far more powerful base chemistry hit. Better to have the flavonoids or the bioflavonoids with the rutins and stuff mixed with the C's. If you're going to take a C, you take the whole complex as much as you can get. The more you isolate, the more you run the risk. All right, so now A, D, and E are antioxidants. Why? They're oils. So what is a free radical, by the way? By the way, calcium can become a free radical if your parathyroid's down and you're not producing enough PTH. If you're not producing enough parathyroid hormone to utilize this calcium you're consuming, and I've seen this in many, many clients who took calcium supplements, ended up with extreme hardening of the arteries, extreme hardening of the joints. I mean, their whole thing went out. You know, the typical arthritic type of look, where degeneration of the tissue happened, but all the calcium that was supposed to be there to hold the structure ended up on the outside. To fight acidosis, most free radicals are what? Acids. Remember, there's only two sides of chemistry. You can use fancy words like free radicals, but anything can be a free radical. You just have to be careful with that type of thinking. It is much better to think in terms of base and acids than free radicals, because anything good can become a free radical. So an acid would definitely be neutralized or help to be neutralized by a base, and most lipids are base. So your A, your D, and E would interfere with the radiation, creating free radicals. So here we got, he's telling you that we're going to radiate you, that this radiation is going to create free radicals. How? See, what you got to understand with radiation, what you're doing is you're burning the cells. So what you're doing is, not only are you taking the good cells that he referred to here at the last, you're damaging them. And the proof is radiation causes cancer. Cancer is damaged cells. So he's not telling the full story here. He talks out of serpent tongue. It is true that antioxidants will buffer acids, radiation. Absolutely will. But he's also telling you he's about to kill you. He's about to at least tempt it. Because when you're radiating it, forget the cancer cells. These are just damaged cells by acids. So what you're doing is you're going into a high acid slurry with another burn that takes acids and even makes it more agglomerated. Burns not only the poor cancer cells that are already done, burns the other tissues as well. The proof of it is you see these cells now becoming your next cancer cells. He's wrong there. Your cells that are damaged at this level can't repair themselves. What's the problem? The problem here with cancer people is stagnation of the lymphatic system. This is their sewer system. When you have a cell that's damaged, how does your body deal with that? Get an A&P book and take a look at this. How does your body deal with a damaged cell? It takes it right through the blood. No. It takes it to the lymph system, the lymph vessels. It doesn't dump a damaged protein cell that with all its damaged acids around it and dump it into the blood. No way. It goes through the lymph vessels to where? The lymph nodes. And what's in the lymph nodes? That macrophages, well, I already told you, but phagocytes, and macrophages. They're the eaters. They're the carnivores of the immune cells. And they're found in lymph nodes away from the tissues, obviously, because they are the carnivores. So the leukocytes or whichever immune cells take these damaged cells right to the lymph nodes where right? You've got the immune cells and macrophages to deal with any damaged cells, and you've got the bacterium to deal with the acid waste from those interstitial spaces, cleaning cells around there. Now, what would happen if this system becomes stagnant and you couldn't move a cell from the tissues to the lymph nodes because the highway is blocked? I gave the analogy of a hurricane. We have a hurricane in Florida. Everybody says, oh, we got to go. Imagine millions of people trying to leave at once. I don't care what they say. Our hurricane routes, or some of them are 2-lane roads at 45 miles an hour. That's how stupid this state is in some ways. No offense, because I love the state of Florida. But, so you see where I'm going here? The problem is simple, and the problem is simply fixed. But when you start introducing more acids or radiation, which is an acid, which damages more cells, and he's thinking, nah, these damaged cells will fix themselves, stuff on what? This person has stagnation of the lymph system, so like extreme acidosis. How do cells rebuild themselves in an acid slurry? They don't. They continue to break down. That's why this guy, and no offense to him, he was probably taught this, but this is extreme ignorance. And you can't fall to these sort of things because they're pretty much telling you they're going to damage you even more. So you can't bitch when he says, well, they use a fancy little word called metastasize. Cancer doesn't have the consciousness to metastasize. First of all, a damaged cell can't go anywhere, that's for sure. So you have to take a look at that and understand how the body really works, and not some of the pseudo crap that you hear from medical doctors that paint this kind of weird story of how damaged cells are somehow eliminated better when you burn them and burn the friends around them. I mean, this is extreme. Comes to what the real problem is, guys. And if you're one of these people dealing in the word cancer, just remember the word cancer simply means decay or atrophy. So how do you decay a cell or a group of cells in your body? Well, you first have to back up, remember, to chemistry. Chemistry controls and is everything. So everything is chemistry. If you can't answer that question, then you shouldn't be a practitioner. Dead serious. Why would you be a practitioner of the healing arts if you don't understand the two sides of chemistry and what side of chemistry damaging people? And that's the problem. The lymphatic system is not understood as you guys know it. And you new guys coming aboard, you know, we just found 2 years ago, the University of Virginia just found the lymph system in the brain. 2 years before that, a new lymph system in the brain called the lymphatic system. And it just keeps going on and on and on. So understand, and even this new professor that I really am excited that we have her on board here. I can't wait. Even in anatomy, which she's been a professor of anatomy and physiology for 16 years, she was talking to us the other day, and she was saying even in anatomy and physiology, there's always breakthrough information and news and stuff. And this is true. For anyone to assume, like back in the days when the world was flat, a scientific community believed the world was flat. And if you didn't get along with that, you probably went to jail. So that's the kind of thing you have to understand. Science is just trying to understand how it is. We have to be ahead of science and understand how it is. And you can only do that with consciousness. You can't do it with a conditioned mind. See, when you use your mind, you don't understand that your mind has totally been conditioned when you got here. When you got here, they taught you, not you consciousness, they taught your mind how to add, subtract, how to speak the language, particularly where you are. It doesn't have to be on this planet. There's so many languages throughout the galaxies. So they're going to train you that. Your school, wherever you are, is going to train you in that art. And your mind is totally conditioned for this particular life that you're experiencing. That isn't who you are. That's your bodies and the instruments you're using to experience creation. That's what they are. They're conditioning your instruments, your tools of experience. You of consciousness, if you're not careful, you're pulled right into it and you believe everything that's going on. Pull your attention away and you're free from that. Because can't condition consciousness. It's part of everything. See where I'm going with that? So I wanted to go over this for you because this is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous. And to think that, and anybody that relies on that sort of thing is in trouble. If you're going to go full blow chemo and radiation, go full blow. And then remember the blowback. Just remember, I warned you about the blowback. There's always the blowback. When? couple of months to a couple of years, but the blowback is not fun because you just introduced a particular procedure, whether it's radiation or chemo, that is so more acidic than the acids that are damaging your cells that you don't have a chance. Your cells don't. The only people that come out of this are your strong constitution people, and that's about 6%. They're telling you 20 and 30%, but you don't see them much. As a matter of fact, when someone tells you that chemo, 80% of the people are surviving chemo, that's the first year. You can get, some people can survive chemo 80%, you can get up to maybe 60, 70%. But second year, drastically down, what, to 40? Look at the chart on Cancer Treatment Centers of America. They're proud to show it to you. And it shows you most cancers have a 6% survival rate. And we talked about this before. As 100 people walk in and get juiced, only 6 of them walk out, still halfway alive. You put 100 people through our programs and you guys helping them, and at least 95 are going to walk out. You're always going to have 5% of the people pass because they're too advanced. And it's their time. Who cares? Better experience. You know, this is a rock spinning through space. And if you look at this planet, not a fun one anymore. And people are getting so angry, they're so lost. The spiritual people have, leaders have failed the planet. They use control and power. Some of the people in the Middle East are held down to poverty levels. While the priestcraft spends the money. You know, and people buy into that crap. You know, the priestcraft is there to represent God to you. And if that priestcraft can't connect you to God, you got to look for another spiritual being that can. Because that's all that matters, is that you wake up again. Because the more you go out and kill and hurt and do whatever, the more you bond yourself to this rock. You'll be back, and you'll be back, and you'll be back, and you'll be back. You'll spin like a top. And you can, and you don't have to take my word for it. Talk to the other spiritual masters. This is up. We all know what's up here. So, anyway, thanks for listening on that one. Good. Oh. Hello, Dr. Morse. Just wanted to say how grateful we are for all your knowledge, love, and support. Thank you. Thank you. Like I say, I get a little wound up sometimes. But all in all, we're here as a team and getting each and every one of us better and healthy. The body's healthy, and also learning how to be a little more free and having a little more fun while we're on the rock. And that's important. Your survival is important and should be important to you. It's your survival beyond your physical experience here, especially when you get up in the 60s and 70s and 80s. You got to start thinking about your move away from this rock. And so the more you're awake, the greater the experience. All I can say. Thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. This is Marilyn. Thank you, honey. I'm writing today about my daughter, Genevieve. She is 6 years old and has been meat and 99% dairy-free for the last 3 years. Excellent. You know what's strange is to feed a baby meat. When I see people feeding their little children meat, you know, I was at a restaurant one time with a group of people and had to go to the bathroom, got up, and I was looking at this, and somehow they sit this mother, and this, look, he was about 5 years old, at this table. This is a big table, and it was only those two. And they were right beside the table I was at. And I was watching them, and there's this little boy, and the waiter brought out her a big salad, and the waiter brought out the young man hot dog and french fries. And I'm looking at that, and here's the mama eating a salad. And I'm looking at that, and here's the young man reaching over trying to get a tomato or something from the mother, and the mother smacks his hand and says, "Johnny," or whoever, eat your hot dog and french fries. I almost bit my tongue off. I go to the bathroom, I was going, I just wanted to say to the mama, "Honey, if you want that hot dog and french fries so bad, you eat it. Your son wants the salad." She eats a lot of fresh fruit and consumes a lot of fresh juice. Yeah! You know, that's how you regenerate these 6-year-olds. Some months are better than others, but year after year, her diet definitely improves. That's how you regenerate, and you want to do it while they're young, because when they claim you set your thought forms in by 5. I don't know if that's true. Some of your teachers might know that, but, you know, you definitely pick up these thought patterns. You know, like let's say that you have a wastebasket, and you've had a wastebasket in this particular place, maybe under the sink or by the sink somewhere, you've had a wastebasket there for years. And suddenly you decide you want to move somewhere else. How many times does it take you to go to the new wastebasket without going to the old one first? That's the mind. A totally conditioned instrument. And it works in these grooves and cycles. And once it's conditioned, that's what it knows. It can't get out of the way of itself because it's not conscious. It can't get out of it. It's a machine like a computer that you just programmed. The only way you can get out of that is when you wake up and become a little more conscious and are asserting self-discipline. Excuse me. Okay. We tried to take advantage of the summer months for its fresh fruit. Last summer she was on the Fab Four, excellent, and a mostly raw diet, and then after visiting a friend's house with lots of pet hair and dust, she proceeded to have a very strong allergic reaction, including respiratory, where her asthma really kicked up. Well, that shows you how much work you still have ahead of you, right? Because it shows you that this young girl, young girl is still lymphatically compromised. Because you can go, usually that little girl should be able to go and play with those cats, run all over, something, no big deal. So you want to get her to that point where it's no big deal. But what gland do you have to think about here? Someone said pituitary, someone said adrenals, adrenal glands. That's your steroid, but that's also the gateway to turning on the kidneys and filtration. By the way, at 6 years old, you also want to think, of course, of the kidneys itself, because the kidneys can be real bad in these, you never know. But to have allergies and asthma, you have to have a lymphatic system down. And that includes the adrenals because that's your neurotransmitters for breathing. So that means this child will have low blood pressure as she grows up, and things like that. But this family and this individual is working on them pretty good. So very impressive here. And so as they work this child through regeneration of the kidneys, adrenal glands, and whatever might be genetically weak, this child is going to grow up a beautiful soul. And that's what we need to do. Is more of you beautiful parents like Genevieve or Marilyn going in and taking care of their grandkids and kids. It's a real neat thing to see that. Because the suffering is unbelievable. I get all these letters from you guys in your teens and early teens with all the massive skin problems. Sad stuff. Same system that's down. And of course the asthma kicked up. It shows you got to work on those adrenal glands. So you definitely want to get her on an adrenal formula. But be aware of the low blood pressure. Now, as this child grows, make sure the height and everything is growing well, and then if you're able to get an eye picture sometime, that'll give you a good insight to whether you have to deal with pituitary issues. Dealing with pituitary issues early on would be smart because then all the growth factors will be there and you don't have to try to get them to catch up, although not difficult still. We still use albuterol. The thing about this though, albuterol isn't a nebulizer, and albuterol is very cancer-causing. There's a difference between an inhaler and a nebulizer. Nebulizing treatment is what you want to go for. But use an herbal antispasmodic instead of inhaler if you can, because an inhaler locks everything in there. It dilates, but it locks. You're not trying to lock the acids and mucus into the lungs. That's why they're cancer-causing. You want something that will be an antispasmodic that will relax that nervous system, and at the same time feed it a little bit, and at the same time allow you to discharge mucus. That's the difference. And a nebulizing treatment will break up, and especially if you use the right stuff, you can, like the 3-lung tea, you can nebulize 3-lung tea, and it'll start breaking up any of the mucus and stuff. But asthma is a neurological problem. So these are brutal things. These are antispasmodics. But you want to enhance that nervous system by working on the adrenal glands, which feeds it the neurotransmitters. So you want to look at that. So this child should be on a brain and nerve number 2, also with an antispasmodic until you move them past this, working on the adrenals and kidneys and the lymphatic system with this child. That'll pull them out of the allergic thing and stuff. You want to be able to play with cats and dust, who cares? And use that antispasmodic in place of the albuterol. You can always use the albuterol if you need them. But It's kind of like insulin. If you can get away from using insulin, do. Because, again, these are hormones. And when you use a hormone, then your body stops producing it. And then you get yourself in deeper trouble. See, so what we're trying to do is help you get out of these troubles, and also out of the deeper side of these problems. We didn't, so in this case, and it didn't seem to provide the relief we normally get. So yeah, you want to keep on detoxing, then use an herbal antispasmodic here. We were up with her most of the night, and after many hours of coughing and feeling defeated, hers and us, we brought up a very large amount of clear mucus from her lungs. See, and that's probably a plug in there, trying to break loose. But see, that's what acids do. It turns this mucus into locked plugs. It dehydrates you. Acids dehydrate you, agglomulate you. It's called cationic. And it's hard to understand how a cationic, meaning more of a tear down, can do this, but it's what it does. Its end result is a dehydration and agglomulation, where these things dehydrate, mucus dehydrates, locks in there, and becomes plugs. So you have to go to the other side of chemistry to create hydration and liquidity and break this stuff up, and then you get it up. Now, remember this with the lungs and stuff. Reflexology on the hands where the lungs are, that'll help immensely to breaking up these plugs. On the chest, maybe not a little painful for the child, but these at the sternum, just like on the back, these neurolymphatic points, will help break up this mucus in the lungs, believe it or not. It really will. Anything fruit, of course, will help break up the mucus in the lungs, particularly your watery fruit. That'll help break that up. 3-lung tea, those sort of things, mullein, fenugreek, pleurisy roots, things like this for hardened sputum and stuff like that. But it just shows that you really need to get this out. But don't be fooled. There's also a neurological issue with asthma. I would say it was anywhere from 1.5 to 2 cups in volume. This mucus that this child got up was 1.5 to 2 cups in volume. You're lucky the child didn't die. The sad thing, if they don't change, they're going to, every house is going to have a suction machine in it in the future if people keep drinking milk and stuff, because they're going to come packing like this child. Lungs are already packed full of mucus. Oh, poor things. That's amazing. You're doing a good job, honey. I have to tell you. You're doing a good job cleaning your child up here. Getting that mucus out. Now, don't put it back. Get this child away from milks and things that are milky and things like this, the proteins and stuff. Get them away from these things. And you'll clean the mucus out of them, and you won't have them anymore. And this child will breathe good the rest of their lives. No tumors and everything else. Perfect. After doing that a couple more times, less mucus each time, but still, it's amazing how much mucus can be in the body, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But you got the bronchial trunks and 3 lobes on the right and 2 on the left. Oh, her cough completely stopped. Of course. Why do you cough? I'm pulling. I'm pulling. What? Mucus. Plugged, locked mucus. A sore throat. Just plug mucus. Get the mucus out, the sore throat goes away. Isn't that amazing? And yet, it could be bacterial. We'll just give you antibiotics. I mean, it's such a world of difference between truth and theories and unconsciousness, isn't it? It was the first time I had ever seen anything like that. Normally her coughing, when it was like that, doesn't resolve itself and we need to go to the ER. But see, you're learning, guys, and you took the appropriate steps. You rolled up your sleeves as the mom and grandma, and you took care of this child. And that, you won the day. And you just saved this child a hell, because at the ER, they would have suppressed this. The mucus still there, and suppressed it even more. So now the next time the 6-year goes into it, it's even worse still. It's pneumonia. See what I'm saying, how this works? And when you get that, you wake up, you go, whoa, 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 whoa. Absolutely. Normally her coughing, they take her to the ER. We were very encouraged by that event. Well, I hope so. A similar thing happened a few weeks ago. We had her on a course of herbs, kidney and bladder, smart thinking, adrenal tonic, smart thinking, lung tonic, smart thinking, lymphatic 1, and spasm calm. Oh, you guys are getting so good I hardly have to do these anymore. Look at this. You nailed it right on the head here. See, you guys are becoming good healers. This is just good stuff here. Good stuff. All right. Now, and she contracted a small cold which then affected her lungs. No. You guys probably created that by giving her these herbs. Absolutely. If you didn't catch it, you probably created it. Well, that's why you're giving it to her. You're giving it to her to clean out what's in there so she doesn't have to go through this anymore unless she fills it back up. So that's why you want to get this cleaned out, and then she's done. How beautiful of a thing. So sometimes you have to ride the ride, right? We get that. You know, fevers can go way high in children, stuff like that. We get all that. But we save and rebuild our children. We don't kill them. She had a cough and started to exhibit asthmatic symptoms. That's okay. Belly breathing, quickened respirations, retractions around the ribs and neck. So we began the albuterol nebulizer, and again, she brought up a very large amount of clear mucus, and her cough stopped. Wow. See? Now, get away from the albuterol, go to the nebulizer. Use the herbal antispasmodic, does the same thing, but better. And you guys are winning the day here. Winning the day. Now, let's talk for a minute if this child was a quadriplegic. For you guys out there that are quads, there is a little bit different situation here, and I'd recommend those quads that are detoxifying, maybe get a suction machine there for your caregivers, just in case you get in a situation where you get a plug and they can help suction it out for you, because they don't have the neurological power to turn the muscles to get it out. So that's the only problem you have, or at least one of the more serious problems detoxing a quadriplegic, is when their lungs break loose. You know, it's getting them to be able to cough it out. Now, I told you stories about it, not fun stories either. But we save them. That's the key. Whatever we have to go through. All right? All right. I know that the albuterol and steroids that are prescribed for asthma are getting us deeper in the hole, but I'm not sure how to manage the asthma events. Well, just what we're saying. Using antispasmodic, you can use a nebulizer treatment, and you can actually use 3-lung-T as a nebulizing treatment. But there'll be a point here where you don't have to do this anymore. You got to understand it's not endless. There's only so much mucus there to come out, and that's it. You don't want to create more. The way you create more is through irritation of the mucosa. All right, and that lines the lungs and everywhere else. Anything that creates them, that irritates the mucosa, is called a free radical. Well, most free radicals are proteins, believe it or not, and they're acids. And dairy proteins are one of the most notorious mucosic irritators and extreme mucus formers. You know, dairy products of all types, from cheeses to yogurts to everything like that, including these stupid Similac and stuff like that. These are extremely mucus forming. Let me see. The events began when she was 3 months old and were very scary. 3 months old, this little girl's been suffering like this, and you guys are working her out of this. I have to tell you, don't lose faith. You guys are working her out of this. Be happy with the events, because that's part of detoxing. You have to. This is part about being. This is part about the art of detoxification, but this is also about being strong. You've got to be a strong person to be a healer. It's one thing to help your friends, but when you start getting into these levels, you've got to be a strong person that can take that. And I know you guys are. And you can take working these children through these ups and downs. Common sense. And common sense, another word for common sense is awareness. Not the mind, the awareness. Would it be better to increase the spasm calm? Yes. I know her kidneys and adrenals are down. Yes, you're smart. Appreciate any guide. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I love you guys too. Thank you so much. And helping your child here, this is incredible. But, you know, there are some cases like breathing and stuff, you have a little up and down to that. But this is a good case to show you that they persevered, even though they went back and did a nebulizer, maybe a little bit okay, but the girl was still able to expectorate with that. As a rule, you can't. So try to use, again, the herbal antispasmodic, which allows for expectoration. At the same time, relaxes that nervous system and allows you to get the breath in and out. Right? And then once you expectorate this mucus, you know, if you get a plug that's real bad, and you know you're working on someone that's a lunger, I'd recommend that you get lobelia, that you keep lobelia handy for yourself. Because if you get someone that gets trapped mucus and can't breathe hardly, you want to get lobelia down them, and a good dropper full or two, at least 2 teaspoons or tablespoons down them. That'll make them throw, it's an emmetic, make them throw up. But when you throw up, it compresses the lungs, it'll push this stuff out. It'll save their life. So there are little key ways. I've used this a couple of times in my journey. I've used lobelia a couple of times and made people throw up to break this loose, and of course then they breathe and everything is good. Whatever you have to do to save a life and not make it worse for them, that's our job. So learning all these little ins and outs of things. But remember the neurolymphatic points here. This will help break up sputum and allow them to discharge. That's what they're for. Hot and cold applications helps to break up mucus, particularly cold applications and things like that. Absolutely. Cold is antispasmodic as well. Remember that. A cold rag right here real quick. Antispasmodic. Anything hot would increase spasms. How's our time? Pretty good. Time for a couple more anyway. Thanks for your time. Just a quick question. I have a tumor in my pelvic hip area, 7 centimeters by 6 centimeters in size. That's a pretty good one. When I was not eating completely healthy and went to get an MRI due to extreme pain in my leg and gut, I did a 42-day water fast, no herbs, just water. My tongue turned pink on the sides and on the tip, but I had to stop at day 42 before the fast was complete. Well, it was still a good fast, though. Yeah, you're right. We generally fast till the whole tongue turns pink, but you seen how it was clearing? But, you know, you can re-enter that zone. You can re-enter that zone, but that was a real valiant move on your part to move into a 42-day water fast. Really good move on your part. Amazing. Good. Who is this? Oh, Bradley. Good job, Bradley. It's a level 2 student. Let me see here. As a blood test showed me with below normal flagged abnormally electrolytes, and I caught a virus from my mom that was not going away. I know I have still, well, a viral is simply a protein. Virals are detoxable. That's the thing. All virals are detoxable, and you just keep digging in, Bradley. Keep digging in, man. Because you know the gig. You got to get the kidneys filtering, you know, all of that. The adrenals up to do that and all of that. If your electrolytes are low, take a look at the adrenals again, because the metabolism of most electrolytes are adrenal steroids. So you could blame the being low in electrolytes, but I know, Bradley, you're eating raw, so you're not deficient in electrolytes. So the only way you burn electrolytes is, of course, in an acidic medium. That's where you have the ionization and you lose the electrolytes. You lose your electrons from your electrolytes, from your base chemistries. I know I still have the tumor because if I take a few weeks to eat not too healthy, I feel it is getting larger and pushing on my femoral vein and femoral nerve. Yuck. I would probably put myself, Bradley, on a grape fast. You know, put myself on a 40-day grape fast. While you're doing that, you got to slam the herbs. And you want to slam the herbs for the kidneys, the adrenals, the lymphatic system. You might want to do lymphatic 5 with kidney 1, lymph node 3, kidney 4, your stomach and bowel or heel all caps, your GI broom, start raking and pulling. Because those astringents will filter into the lymph system anyway and help there too anyway. They're not just for the bowels. You'll absorb astringents and help the whole body anyway with the GI broom. So that would be smart to do that and go that route and do it now. When I eat fruit or water fast, the pain completely goes away. Isn't that neat? I know it. And it's neat with fruit because fruit helps pull pain out of the human body, believe it or not. I just set up to have another MRI in December and want the tumor to be gone by then. All right, so hit this hard now. I would flip into a grape, maybe a grape lemon fast, back and forth. You know, eat your grapes and maybe a little lemon juice throughout the day. And do that for about 20, 30, 40 days. I don't care. And then with that, do the herbs with that. Pound them and go, and you should be done. Kidneys are filtering. If not, do a dry fast for a couple days. You know, hit on Hildy's site. And it should be gone by then, absolutely. way by then, hopefully. I will hit it hard the next 5 months with your herbs and the raw food diet. I'm a level 2 and an herbalist, so I think I can handle this. Oh yeah, you can, man. You know what's up. My question is about my blood tests. On day 35 of my water fast, my creatinine was 2.06. High for me. I'm usually at 1, and Bun at 32. Lab says 8 to 20. No, see what you're doing now. This is a good question for everyone in the sense that, you know, when your car's in the garage, isn't the time to check all your stats. You know, because what you're doing, say your creatinine, right? When you start detoxifying, what are you detoxifying out of the body? Proteins, and creatinine is a protein, right? So you're pulling your proteins out of your kidneys. So it's normal to see your creatinines go up real high when you're in a detoxification mode. It can. Or when you're in trouble, your creatinine levels can soar, but then go down and balance out. So that was just a short period of detox that you could see that in. You didn't make your kidneys worse by doing that. You didn't jump a whole 1% in your kidney creatinines by that. It takes quite a while. Although once you hit 1, getting to 2, 3, and 4 is a much faster journey. You can take your whole life, 40, 50 years to get to 1. Some of you younger people will hit 1 a lot quicker for sure. But then it just escalates a lot faster, you know, depending on the condition of the kidneys, the adrenals, of how fast that takes place, and the diet involved. So, and your bun, that's just proteins you're pulling out of the body. It looked like you were eating a lot of protein. You were just pulling it out of the body. So what they didn't understand is you were detoxifying while you were doing this. You were on a water fast. So your body was kicking it out, baby. And so these are proteins your body's going to kick out naturally anyway. It's just you're accelerating that issue. Do you know why my bun? Yep. I'm just curious. What's up with my kidneys? One more thing. I wasn't filtering much lymph on the water fast, but now I'm dry fasting 1 or 2 days a week and getting a lot of sediment out. Isn't that a friggin' amazing? And I think about that quite a bit, you know, and I look at the jungle. I used to think, you know, animals water fast, but really most animals are not always on where there's water, so there's certainly dry fasting in nature quite a bit when you think about it. So I just think it's a really good thing. You know, Hildy has stumbled onto a really, really good thing. I've been real cautious about doing things like that in my life because of, you know, emaciated people. But for the short period of dry fast is, boy, well worth it. So just keep going down this road, and you guys are really kicking, Bradley. You do a good job, but you're doing everything right. Slam it with the herbs, do the grapes and the lemons, and then dry fast a day or 2 here and there. Excellent work on yourselves. Because each and every one of you want to be like Bradley. You want to know how to take care of yourself, or like that mom and grandma is taking care of the babies. You want to know how you take care of them. And when they go through a healing crisis, you want to know what's going on there. So that's what this site is about. Most of the information of this is here. It's just things like this for Bradley here, understanding when you do, your stats might not look perfect. Matter of fact, when you start on this, your tumors could actually increase in size a little bit. You know, it takes a while to get to where the stagnation is. It takes a while to open up the door that created the stagnation problem. So you can't always, you know, I've had people not filter for 6 months. Scary. So this is, you know, we're all as a team, we're discovering more things and hitchhiking them on, like the dry fasting and stuff. I really love that. That's why putting more heads together is so much better. Heads that like to work together. When we work together as a team, it all works well. When you get a bunch of people and you got antagonism, I hate that. You know, because then you get the people with antagonistic views and crap like that. But when you get people that they know and they're working together, the energy can pop, baby. I had a bunch of us together at the house one time. And we were really, I was getting them out there. Both in the health, but also spiritually. And it started raining gold in my house. It was raining gold everywhere. They were going, that was fun. Hi, Dr. Morse. It's Susan. Hey, Susan. Steve's sister. Steve, the author. Yep. We know about Steve. And Steve, you better be doing fruits, berries, and melons only. I'm watching you. Hey, Susan. Quick question. Again, Susan, we'll probably be using you when you know what hits the fan more. Then we can Skype you out there. Quick question for you. How do you know when the herbs or glandulars have completed their task? Good question. For instance, I have a few spider veins and some ridged nails. I've been taking parathyroid glandulars, 1 bottle. I haven't seen any changes in my veins or nails, so does this mean I need more? Will one see a physical change so that we know that herb is done and we don't need it anymore? Good question, Susan. You know what's interesting to me? Now listen to this. Susan has been on a bottle of this, so to take a bottle of that, what is that, 2-3 weeks maybe? We only do 1 or 2, 3 times a day of this one. So the bottle, there was 90 in it. It could last you maybe 30 days, right, or something. So we had a case of extreme varicose. Extreme. She was a smoker. She ended up with lung cancer. Extreme. And she had spider veins too, but extreme varicose. Big, huge, knotty veins. And I'll be damned, 2 weeks later, all gone. And yet, so everybody's different at that, Sue. I would also take a look at your eyes and make sure your pituitary is not being antagonistic to your parathyroid. If it is, you might add a pituitary herbal formula with that. Go back to 1 bottle of the parathyroid 2-3 times a day. Hitchhike that with a bones formula of 2 or 3 times a day. Or you could use the superfood 2, extremely high in calcium. Could do that. At the same time, guys, use circulation formulas, because circulation formulas are high in flavonoids, and they really enhance and strengthen arterial walls as well. We're talking about connective tissue issues, but flavonoids are really good also at strengthening cell walls as well. So all just good stuff. So I'd use lower circulation on that. So I'd use lower circulation. I would, if take a look at that pituitary transverse bowel area, you might have to have a pituitary bump a little bit with the herbal side for, let's say for a month you did this, and try that and see if that pulls in. They will pull in, you know, and it could be you just need to get your body in a little healthier shape, because I know what your body is, and I know, and sometime I'll talk to you about that off camera. But strengthening would be the key word in your case. And so you might get into tonics later on. You know, like the Ultra Immune. I never use the Ultra Immune formula on somebody right off, because it's got some hot herbs in there. It's got ginseng, Panax, and then it's, of course, got the antler. But that's for bone marrow cancers and stuff like this. This is a extreme cellular proliferator. So this is to be used after you've gotten the tumors and stuff out of someone and you're rebuilding cells and strength of the individual. Now, remember the 256-year-old Chinese man, ginseng 5 times a day. That's the only thing you could contribute it to that, because I don't know if he was a fruitarian. I doubt it. A fruitarian might be able to achieve that age, but not an omnivore. Thanks, Susan. Appreciate that. Deloris Evans. I have a bowel problem and lymph problem. Please help. Well, honey, how you help a lymph problem and how you help a bowel problem is, number 1, the type of food you're burning. So if you're burning dirty fuel like dead animal meats and proteins and beans and grains, you're going to always have a bowel problem. This has been study after study after study after study. The last study was a 30-year WHO study, World Health Organization study, and when they come out with something, you got to pretty much believe it, because they're halfway crooked. So, you know, but they're coming out, and, you know, a lot of them they tell a lot of good things. And so, you know, they brought out about the proteins in the bowel cancers and the relationship of high protein diets to colon cancers. This cannot be ignored. These are highly putrefactive, highly acidic type of foods that can damage, and of course even the hydrochloric acid, dealing in what acids can do to you after time, and the breakdown of the pancreatic duct and pancreas, where bicarbonate is lowered, the hydrochloric acid can burn you bad. Now you're down a little at 2 or below pH. That's a chemotherapy burn. So you change your diet immediately if you're having bowel problems. You go to fruits, berries, melons, and salads if you want. And that'll help to start correcting that, and then get off the salads. Get on our bowel formulas. We have many bowel formulas that are not laxatives. Oh, and I forgot to bring this. I had this laid out this morning for you, and I forgot to bring it. And it was a newspaper I got from some medical place. It was Harvard? It was part of the Harvard newsletter. It sounded like, because it had the Harvard insignia up there. And it was medical doctors talking about constipation and poo and dumping your loads and everything like that. And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, this is the language from medical doctors? Dumping your loads and everything like that? I'm going, what? Especially from some place like Harvard. But what it was, this company or this group of medical doctors was selling this product that they put together. And they were going on about this famous Chinese herb that corrects your bowel movements, that makes you dump your load completely. I mean, they're going off like this, and I'm going, what? I'm reading this magazine. It's not a magazine, it's like a newspaper. One of those informative newspapers, but it's from the school of Harvard or somewhere like that. And there's different news, the medical doctors talking about all about the poo and constipation, and even who was it? Oh, the New York Times had said constipation can lead to serious health problems, and they quoted them, and they're quoting all these things about constipation. And there's this wonder herb from China. So get through, and you have to go through read all the different things and all the different medical it takes and all that. Finally get back to where you can order the stuff. Chinese rhubarb. Hate to tell you, purgative, rhubarb is a laxative, addictive, bad news. And then they threw a little ginger and a little this and a little that, a little aloe, which can be drying. So they threw a little of the other stuff in there that really isn't what you want. And so now, it'll make you go, and you'll clean out, but you'll get addicted to it. And that'd be something they would like, probably, not to be offensive, but I guess I was. But it keeps selling product. We don't want addiction. Like we talked about the coffee enemas yesterday. No. So that's the things you don't do. So our bowel formulas are restoratives. They clean and enhance and restore. That's what you want. You're trying to clean and enhance and restore and rebuild and regenerate. Even remember genetically. And it's a natural process. And it's the opposite process of how you break it down. So understanding the process of how you're making yourself sick leads you into the answers of how you get yourself well. That's simple. So go to the lymphatic video, sweetheart Deloris, and really get on that lymphatic on rawfigs.com. I heard you guys have some of my old videos that the YouTube got rid of. I liked it. I had all my videos, but you never know, Just important that one understands the lymph system. This is Tom. Hi, Tom. I'm bald. Not good, Tom. Not good to be bald, Tom. Developed dermatitis on my scalp. Scabs. Yeah. So let me show you how the scabs and the dermatitis is why you lost your hair. So if I said, what creates scabbing and what creates dermatitis, what side of chemistry, Tom, are we going to go on? You only have two. So you have alkaline base, acid. Which side of chemistry are you going to go on? Well, let me ask you. If I said that I could put you into a swimming pool with a pH of 9, or I could put you in a swimming pool of pH 3, which one would you like to go into? Yeah. I wouldn't go into the swimming pool with pH of 3. That would be a swimming pool filled with Coca-Cola or Pepsi. I don't think I'd go swimming in that. Going swimming in a pH of 9 or 10, you might get a little burn at 10, feel it, but 9, I doubt. But you're moving up there on the other side, the acid side. So all these scabs and stuff like this is all acids, and it's burning your cells. It's actually killing and destroying your cells. It's how you get basals. It's how you get basal cell. And, of course, squamous as well. So it's these acids, and, of course, they chewed your hair right off, too, your hair follicles. So this is internal trying to go out. You got to cut this one off, because guess what follows these sort of things, Tom? Try the word dementia and Alzheimer's. Not good. You know, so all this has got to come out. This is your lymphatic system in your brain. So, you know, I'm really, you know, taking a big eye over to this one female professor that claimed the spinal fluid might be a secret to this detoxifying the brain. So this is what I would do, Tom. You know you got to go after your lymphatic system. You've seen it probably enough videos here that you know the lymph system is your problem. So you definitely want to hit the kidneys, adrenals, the lymph system, the GI tract. No question, the GI tract, right? At the same time, I'd be going upper circulation. If this has been a long time, I'd probably hook brain and nerve to this to repair any brain cells that are getting damaged. So that's important to do with that. I would do cold showers to the head. At the same time, I'd go out and get myself sweating on the head as much as I could. Get yourself sweating. I'd work on the neurolymphatics down my spine and down your front. You know, get everything opened up here. I'd candle my ears even. I'd start opening all the doors, hydrating, and getting myself in elimination. Upper circ will help you grow new hair, but you've got to get rid of the acids to get that going at the level you would like. You'll see little sprouts popping, but you really want to get a full head of hair. You want to fix why you lost it and why you're about to lose some other things if you're not careful, Tom. So this is something you want to get out of there. You know, the scabs are just telling you you're damaging your tissues. You know, just like little puppy poos with their sharp teeth. I've been a low-fat vegan for 9 years, 4.5 years, totally raw fruit, high fruit. 4.5 years, totally high fruit. Wow, Tom. Wow. Love it, baby. 4.5 years with some cooked foods at night. Now age 67. Back to fully raw. Started on Fab 4 a week ago and already see improvement. Tom, you're a butt kicker, boy. But kidneys not filtering. Try the dry fasting a little bit. You know, I'm telling you, this is opening up these kidneys. You know, and do about 2 kidney formulas, hitchhike with the adrenal, and then go out and take a little herbs with that. Do at least the first kid. If you get any worms and stuff, you want to deworm yourself anyway, guys. Do the Fab 4 after you do the deworming. You might want to deworm yourselves and defungal yourselves. I think upper circ can be appropriate for hair growth, but you got to detox up here, and you're going to know when you're up here because your sinuses are going to start draining, and you might get having a block from the bowels and from the ears. So handle and work on the GI broom here. I'm a tennis pro, live in Naples. Hey, I'll wave at you. Love to have you here for a talk and tennis lesson if you'd like. Yeah, I'm one of those guys that, you know, wow. I guess I hit it too hard. I'm bad about that thing. I played tennis before, but I'm one of those guys that, I don't know. I got to pull back. But good to know you. Naples is just right down the road. We have a lot of tennis, obviously, in Florida, and we have a lot of tennis pros down in Naples and Sarasota here. These are the swankier places, and you know, we're the wealthier places, and they have all the nice places of tennis courts, the real fine tennis courts and stuff. Good, Tom Avery. Good man. Yeah, you're butt kicking. What's amazing to me, though, 4.5 years and it didn't clean this up here. That's scary to me, just on fruit. So it does give me some reason to pause in terms of why we use the herbs. You know, I started using herbs when I realized the diet wasn't enough in the level that we're at here. So have fun with this, Tom. If you have any problems, you let us know up here. We're right up the road with you, and we'll help you get your hair back and everything else. Because that's what you want to do, is get the hair back. And I'm not joking one little bit on that. I never have. I don't joke like that. You know, it's a real important read. When you see balding, start thinking serious problem. Don't think cute. Think serious problem. One more. We have time for one more. This is Carl. Boulder. I just installed a whole house water filtering system. Do you have advice on which salt softeners are the best to use and where to buy from? You know, I don't. There's so dang many on the market. I had my water people, I used a Rain Soft system. They're expensive, so you want to get one that negotiate, because they're double. They got them so jacked up. I used to sell them on the side for money, but they're so pricey, it's unreal. But I got a guy that gives me good prices. You know, he does my well for me and everything. I did my own for years, but you know, I'm tired of doing my own stuff. But I just put one in. What I did is I had an RO system. I had a whole house RO system, but you burn 7 gallons of water to get one. So when you're an economist, I mean, you're trying to be ecological and all this kind of stuff and be right. Burning 7 gallons doesn't sit right with me to get one. So I find, and it can break down and you have problems. So I went to this high-end filtering system that uses bicarbonate. And then I have a charcoal filtering system. And then that was okay, but I still got some of the sulfur and stuff. So what I did is I put a 500-gallon holding tank and turned it into an aerator. That's the holding tank I was using for my RO water. I turned it into an aerator, which blows the water from the well into the tank to hold it, and then that aerates the gas of sulfur out. And so then I pull from that tank into my softener and then run the softener through the carbon filter. And I have pretty decent water with that. Still has a little bit of salt in it. But, you know, and then I have 2 filters, and I do use a chlorine filter as well as a bicarbonate filter. But bicarbonate on a system like that is extremely expensive. And you can use your violet lights and stuff like that. You can set yourselves up. I don't, to tell you the truth. I think a lot of our immunity comes from interfacing with the earth that we live on. And to take yourself away from that and to use antibiotics is a disjustice to the earth, because you lose your natural immunity. So that's I don't know how to help you with that, Carl, because there's so many on the market. I'm sure there's better ones, but that's what I ended up doing. I love the RO systems, but again, you're going to leach. You're going to leach out of your copper and who knows, out of the PVCs, because when you have a solution that's devoid of chemistry and a solution that's full of chemistry, you're going to have diffusion. You're going to diffuse chemistry from the the dense to the less dense. Osmosis is pulling from the less dense into the dense. That's edema, water as a rule, where you're pulling a solution into a dense stagnation area. But when you have the reverse, you're pulling dense chemistry into less dense solutions and stuff. And that's some of what we think is possible, thinking about this I want to go back a minute too. This asking about the lymph system. I would go to a chiropractor, and when you're all working on your lymph systems, have your spine put straight, because your axis can be straight, and especially, Tom, when you're talking about not detoxing the head, check your axis and have your spine straightened. See if this doesn't help accelerate the detox of the head. I'm real curious about this, because there's some thought by this professor with relationship to the spinal fluid. Wouldn't that be interesting? Just saying. So, Carl, good question, though. Good question, guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for your questions. I'll keep hitting them. I know I'm not getting to a lot of them, and I apologize to that. But there's one question, though, can help multiple people. It's all detox, but it's regenerative detox. And it all starts with getting off of the acid side of chemistry. Uno number 1 for everybody. Step away from the acids. Step away from the acid side of chemistry if you want to feel better. If you want to wallow in pain and suffering, embrace the acid side of chemistry. Medical people would like you to embrace that side, and a lot of the new naturopaths are wanting to embrace the high protein acid side of chemistry. When you're in pain and have tumors in you, Wow. Anyway, I love you guys. You take care of yourselves and keep working in the now. Thanks again. Love you all. Keep it up and keep riding the horse.